Oh, yeah, yeah, in fact, we had to make sure that you had an extra cashier and at that particular time
Oh, at noon.
because they were in a hurry, and we made arrangements for that.
Interesting.
It all depends on whatever you can think of to make a buck, I guess. Yeah.
Interesting. Want to close with anything?
Just, I don't know, as far as urbanization of Victor, what do you think has changed? Like, as far as industry and...
Well, we are very rapidly becoming a suburbia of Rochester, and once that Interstate 490 was built from into Rochester, I remember when my daughter was taking piano lessons up at Eastman, my wife could drive up there, well, let's see, it would take her about 3/4 of an hour. You had to go up Monroe Avenue or East Avenue and up through Pittsford and the Route 96. But afterwards you could drive up there without stopping and get into Midtown Plaza without a stoplight or whatever. And that avenue of speed to get to where you're going, not that you had to drive 100 miles an hour, but the convenience of it. The workers moved out here for the same reason that lived in Rochester, and they commute to Rochester. I don't know what the percentage factor is, but there's an awful lot of 60-70% maybe of our residents today work in Rochester.
Never thought about it, but it's true.
Yeah, and that's why they do that, because they can, the egress and ingress to their work site is good. But once that happened, once they opened once that 4-lane highway was built from up here to by the thruway, from there up into Rochester. Once that happened, boy, things turned right around.
Mm-hmm.
That's why Eastview Mall is here today.
Mm-hmm.
That's why, and that thruway and the connection of roads. It's easy for manufacturers to peddle their products. That's why you've got these nice little factories up there on Fisher's Road, and that's nice for the tax dollar of Victor. I mean,
Oh, sure.
Because hey, there's probably 300 and 400 jobs up there in each one of those little places, and you've got the same thing happening up there on the Victor Mendon Road too, and that isn't very far either away from the thruway. And but that's what happens.
Never thought about it, but that's what changed it.
Sure it is. Yeah, it had to be. And we could see it in the food business right away. Once that happened, it,
You lost shoppers or gained?
well, you gained as
You
they
gained
moved
shoppers.
out.
As they moved out here, you
Yeah.
gained shoppers.
Yeah. But sometimes you gained shoppers, but you also gained other competitors too. So
Oh, sure.
It's a vicious cycle.
it was a vicious cycle, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen a lot of changes. When I was a kid, this isn't the grocery business, but when I was a kid, we lived over near Fairport, And we used to go to Fairport Saturday night with a horse and buggy.
Really?
Yes, when I was a kid.
That's neat.
My dad, the first car he ever owned, I was in, I don't know, I guess I was 8 years old.
Amazing.
Something like that. And he traded a cow in for this car. Now,
Is that right?
yes, it is.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's, and from those horse and buggy days, I've lived to see the
Oh, that's
man on the moon.
wonderful. That's exciting.
Yeah. I remember the first airplane that I saw was a jet-propelled airplane.
Really?
Yeah, I was out at Camp Roberts, California, and I was at this mess hall, and I went in early because I had some early work to do, and this plane went roaring over my head, and I couldn't figure out what in the world it was, and it was a jet.
Isn't that interesting?
It's fascinating. You know, because you're not used to seeing something like, you probably thought it was a spaceship or something.
I didn't know what it was.
What it was.
I knew it was an airplane, but it got out of sight in a hurry.
Yeah.
And made quite a racket too, because it was flying quite low.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. I think that's,
Yeah,
you've got
that's
plenty.
perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Victor has many different kinds of industry. Among the most popular is the farming industry. Mr. Harry North was one of the area's most well-known farmers. Listen as Mr. North tells about some of the crops that he harvested. He also tells what a typical day on the farm was like.
Your personal background and how long you've lived in Victor, and just tell me a little bit about yourself, basically.
She told about being our father dying, and I was 8 years old for what was the flu epidemic during the First World War, and a lot of people, there was no cure for it at that time, and there were a lot of people that died from the flu at that period of time. So we had to move with our mother to live with our grandparents, which were next door. And
Your name was Parley.
and we had a horse and a cow and kept a few pigs and raised and butchered them. and chickens, and we had eggs, and we traded the eggs for groceries sometimes. This was a real thing. You made butter, and you took your butter and your eggs to the Gallup store, and you traded groceries for your
Kind of like a barter system type
barter
of thing.
system. Same thing.
Uh-huh.
And here's a joke, or not a joke, but a true story. This lady had the reputation for making the best butter in her neighborhood. And one day she came kind of silent into the store, and she says, "Mr. Gallup, would you trade this crack of butter for another? I can't eat it. My mouth's filling with my cream." "Oh, sure, I'll came back with a crowd. Next day or next week she came in and she says, "You don't know, that butter was almost as good as mine." He said, "It was."
Oh dear. Oh.
And then Brady used to run the hardware next to Lawless, Brady. He used to go into the bank on a Monday, have cash and whatever he deposit, and straighten up the bank. And he couldn't get any pennies because he didn't have any. He really didn't need any, but so he went back to the store, and he had an office in the back and a desk and a nail keg, and when people paid him in cash, the pennies all went into the nail keg. Wow, crazy, they haven't got any pennies, and he tried to lift the nail keg and he couldn't lift it. So he got the bag truck, and he put the nail keg on a bag truck and wheeled it up the street and into the bank. He said, "There's you got pennies."
A lot of pennies.
A lot of pennies.
Let's talk about farming for a little bit.
Farming?
Yeah.
We started with horses.
Did you do a lot of it?
On our grandfather's farm. We raised sweet corn for Victor Foods and peas for the canning factory, and contract oats for Tweed Bowden. And we raised a few snap beans, but you had to pick those all by hand for the canning factory. And that's the way we started. Then there was this opportunity. Doc Wolston died, and John Wolston was settling the estate. He had 1, 2, 3 farms anyway. And Nowak's bought one over on, and this was for sale where we are. No, we bought it finally. Couldn't borrow money from Canandaigua last night. They sent appraisers down. You would loan $5,000 to buy a farm.
What?
Huh? Can you imagine?
It's unbelievable.
Wouldn't do it. Well, John was getting a home place, and he was negotiating with the Federal Land Bank, get money on for farm property. And so through him, we got a loan to buy the farm. And the first mortgage was, 3%, and the second mortgage was 5%.
Wow.
So that's the way we started.
You obviously then you worked most of the land yourself, and
Yeah, we did. We had 6 horses, and then we got an old used tractor at an auction, kept that, and we ran it for 3. It was on steel whip. And
When was that? Do you remember what year?
10, 20, that was way back. I can't remember periods.
Be in the 40s with
In the
Must have
forties,
been.
the 1940s.
Was it 37 or something like that when we were, just starting, 30.
Okay.
I remember we bought the first new car, I guess. Chevrolet,
Huh.
back about the 30s, 37.
37.
Then we, Lou Rock, he was an implement dealer in International Machinery. So we traded the old tractor for a new International M tractor. So we traded, we ran that for 14 years. That was the tractor, plus the horses. Farm. And 14 years, then we traded it in on a Super M, and they allowed us what we paid for it originally. Now this is inflation. You can't believe it. Inflation. The dollar's only worth about 19 cents today compared with that back. They could get a haircut for a quarter.
Oh, I know. It's outrageous.
Now it's, what, $6, $7?
Anyway,
Well, gee. Well, that's, my brother and I worked the farm. Got, had a hard, tenant house for my nephew is now, and had a hard man. Several, progression. Some were good, some were excellent, some were terrible.
terrible.
Well, they chased one into Canada. Troopers.
So help was hard to get mostly?
Pardon?
Was the help hard to get?
It kept getting worse.
Got worse.
Today, I don't know how you get the
it wasn't too bad at one
farm
time,
help.
but
How would you
As
get
the years went along.
back when we first
got
started,
worse.
you could hire a man for
you know,
$2 a day for a day
Oh, sure.
or 2 days.
Oh, sure.
you couldn't afford to do it.
Now with your,
Oh, you got Social Security, workman's compensation.
right,
Yeah.
all that kind of stuff. What about this business of organic farming and chemically induced farming, trying to induce things to grow so things are more mass production and quicker and all that? How do you feel about that? As somebody who's...
How'd you fertilize?
We have used fertilizer. We have, of course, the cow manure.
Yeah,
That's,
cow manure.
that's nothing better than cow manure. And I can remember my grandparents, or that era, this was potato country.
So we heard.
They took the potatoes over to Fishers, and they went to New York City. On the railroad.
Oh, by rail, huh?
Well, gee, if you didn't have potato land, you weren't really a farmer around here. And then there was Loomis and Victor later. Loomis, it's worth it. But right up here is a short, or used to be a shortcut over to Cork. The end of Cork, a little road that went down over there. Huh? You know where it is?
Strong Road, perhaps?
Wait a minute, no.
No?
Cork.
Oh, it was Cork.
Just
Oh,
down here.
all right.
You come to the end of Cork, and they kept right on going
Oh, okay.
over to School Road.
Oh, okay.
There was a road there,
Right.
and that's because they hauled their potatoes to Fishers, and rather than go down and then up the hill with a big load, it was easier for the horses to come across,
Uh-huh.
and they didn't have to climb the hill.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
Oh, sure.
They came out by that house that Mrs. Light used to live in. We don't know who lives there now. They've been working on it. It's across from Young Northrop.
Well, anyway, it was just such change has happened in my lifetime.
Oh, sure. What what significant changes have you seen
Just,
Well, let's see, I just mentioned before,
mhm.
we've gone from horsepower to water power to wind power to gasoline to steam power.
Mhm.
Gasoline, steam power, gasoline, now it's atomic.
Mhm.
Huh?
Yeah. A lot of changes.
Atomic? Of course, I don't really get involved, but
Mhm.
this, well, we met this guy up in Canada, and he has a cottage next to our camp, and he's retired, he says, from hydro. When you're up in Canada, you say hydro, it includes everything electric.
Oh, sure.
And I found out it was an atomic plant when he said he retired from hydro. I was, well, anyway, you get it.
Oh, yeah, sure.
That's, the lady that was running a store, a little store up there, where we used to fly in, we stop and take a flight in, and she said the cheapest heat, you think with all the forests and wood they have up in Canada, and wood would be cheap. He says, electric.
Cheap
If
commodity.
you can buy it direct from the hydro. Huh?
Amazing. Something so simple, did the job.
What else do you want to know?
About the canning factory. Like, did
Oh,
you
right.
supply the vegetables? We didn't know about the canning
we,
factory. Oh.
We had a 3-horse bitch we put on the big wagon, which we made out of an old Hudson chassis,
Be darned.
and you could put 5 ton on it. Sweet corn.
Hmm.
And haul it down to Victor Foods.
Where was the canning factory now?
Victor Foods. You don't know?
No, I don't remember it.
No, where
I
the-
came in
You're
51.
just a kid.
I came in 51.
Where the child care
Yeah,
place
know where
is,
the-
it was there.
oh, it was
I'll be
there?
darned.
That was the canning
Right by the
factory?
daycare center.
Garlock's, who worked
Whitney.
there? Who owned it first, Harry?
Whitney.
Whitney. Well then, and Garlock's after that?
Yeah.
Okay. Mary Louise,
Whitney.
Whitney Bell,
Oh, yeah,
you know her.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell-
Okay, her father,
I'll
Her
tell you
father
another.
owned the canning
Yeah.
factory.
Whitney.
When I was in high
But
school,
her- I mean, I knew he was in the canning factory, you know. They lived where,
you took a job after school,
Anderson just
Victor
bought
Foods,
that place. They lived in
packing cans for the warehouse. That's where I got my Social Security card, Victor Foods. It was about the first year, I think, that they had Social Security. Way back.
Well, did they have,
The
Wait,
kids,
what's the first
they
year?
get these school kids to go over there and pack these cans for the warehouse. You had to pack them in cardboard. They put them in the warehouse. They had to be, they had numbers on. This was sweet corn, this was whatever.
Everything had
oh,
a
no,
number.
not labels? Not paper labels?
You know, the cans were stamped with a number.
Oh, they were stamped.
They weren't labeled when we handled them because they just came out of the cooler.
Oh.
You see, they went through the cooking in the big,
Big
drums.
Right, whatever.
Then they ran off into a cooling vat, cold water, and they were in there for a while until they came out. Then you took them out of that and packed them in these cardboard. Then they went into the warehouse.
Now, what year was
I
that in?
wonder if
When was that?
Boy, that had to be back
Canning
in
factory. The 40s?
40s, late 30s or 40s,
Late
40s, yeah.
Early 1940s.
Yeah,
Mary Louise pretended.
Mary
the
Louise
Garlocks,
Bell, that'd be-
Garlocks,
Yeah,
Mhm.
she was in Vegas.
Everett, and
Right now, she,
what was it, Albert?
Albert,
they've
yeah.
gone to Vermont, but they'll be back.
And he
today.
went to Phelps, into this, where they're canning sauerkraut.
Virginia Lucky.
I'll be darned.
Oh, she did.
Yeah.
That's nice.
Yeah,
Everett, he's where,
but she and Bill used to go so much.
I don't, he was a member of the
Same
Garlic.
place.
In fact, there's
I don't remember
a
you
deer
very
head up
well.
there, just on the wall was Everett.
Mhm.
Some I do.
The, I drove a horse to school, so you had to walk,
No,
Or
walk to
bicycle.
school,
or a bicycle, or a motorcycle.
really?
No, we lived 3
I
miles.
never had a motorcycle.
You walked,
No, we drove horses.
you rode horses,
Yeah.
Oh, we
They
had a
had-
horse and buggy.
They had,
horse and buggy to school.
they had
Yeah.
sheds behind each church.
Hmm.
And you rented the shed. When you went to church, you put the horse in the shed. Or you went to Canandaigua and took the trolley, you put the horse in the shed. Or you went to Rochester, you put the horse in the shed. So, why, you go to school, you put the horse in the shed, go to school, take the horse out. I'm telling you,
Kind of like locking your bike up, like they have now.
this is a fast way to get home. They were what you called back then barnstormers. Boy, they ever hyped up to get back home. Horses.
Darned. Huh.
Horses
In
were
fact,
ready.
they used to tell about some of the old farmers got drunk and
Horse and buggy.
they just took the reins around the
In the 30s?
whipstock
No, it was in the
Hmm.
20s.
and the horse took them home. Otherwise,
So you were little kids?
Well, we were.
the only,
high school.
well,
Was high
the only
school?
way to Rochester was
Oh,
on
8th grade.
the trolley.
I came
Right.
down here for 8th grade.
And it was called Rochester
high
and
school.
Eastern. Went from Geneva up through.
The line, you mean, the line that
No, I
ran?
went from Geneva to Rochester.
Hmm.
Rochester and Eastern.
Interesting.
Yeah, and
You hungry?
Just you and the two.
Well, I think that about covers it, guys.
Yeah.
Got a lot.